How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah, whereabouts are you?
I'm in Sherman Oaks, California.
Oh, nice. So you probably have nice weather as opposed to scorching, humid heat.
It's hot here, but it's not too bad. Where are you?
I'm in New Orleans. So,
Ah,
yes, down in the south with all the lovely heat and sweltering humidity. It's wonderful.
I love New Orleans. I made a
Yeah.
movie there.
Oh, really? Which one? I
The
have.
movie, little movie with Evan Rachel Wood and Scott Speedman called Barefoot. It was
Ah,
like 6 or 8 years ago. It's a cute movie.
yes, back in 2014. Nice. I hope y'all filmed during a pleasant part of the season or the year.
It was late spring into summer. It got hot at the end there. It got pretty toasty at the end there.
Oh yeah. If you got it all the way into summer, you must have been around for the triple digit heat waves.
Yeah,
So, well, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I'm very excited to ask you some questions about Emily in Paris. I'm
sure.
actually a die-hard fan of the series.
All right.
I've I've rewatched the first three seasons more times than any healthy person should. And I've actually the episodes that I was allowed to screen for the upcoming season, I've already rewatched those multiple times as well. So,
You probably
and
know more than I do at this point.
no, I don't know about that. I mean, it's an incredible series. So if you're ready, I'm just gonna dive right in.
Sure.
Uh, so what was it about Emily in Paris, the story itself, and everything about the series that drew you in?
Well, Darren gave me the script and I enjoyed it. And I remember reading it. This is 2018, 2019, and thinking there's nothing like this on TV because at that point, the landscape was very much like Mindhunter and The Walking Dead and, women who kill. And it was Euphoria. It was a lot of darkness. And I thought,
Yeah,
I grew up watching shows that were fun and that took place in places you wanted to be with people you wanted to hang out with. And I thought that's what this could be. It could be, to use a really crass term, unique in the marketplace. And so we made the show. It was originally supposed to be for the Paramount Network, and
yes,
we made it very modestly. Um, and um, and we just thought of it as a little show that it would have a niche audience. And then the, the idea was when we finally saw a trailer for it, it kind of looked bigger and more slick and more kind of spectacular than we anticipated. I mean, I thought it would look great, but it just seemed like a bigger show. And that's when Netflix got involved. And then the pandemic happened, and I thought, well, this show will just get lost in the shuffle of the world chaos. But it turned out that everybody wanted to take a little vacation to Paris. And
yeah.
it was suddenly a big deal. So it was an interesting journey the first season. It started off here and ended up way over there.
That's actually you're like jumping ahead to one of my questions, but I just gotta say I love the story because it's exactly how you describe it. It's like a vacation for the mind. You're watching people that you would want to hang out with. The story is always really fun and so visually compelling. It's incredible. It really is just it's such a unique show, and it with hints of that Sex and the City vibe to it, but in Paris.
Yeah.
It's like if Carrie Bradshaw's story started in Paris rather than ending up there. Um, Emily in Paris is a rather polarizing series. People, either tend to lean one way or the other. What kind of feedback do you normally get from fans of the show, people who really enjoy watching it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Um, it's I don't know if the show's polarizing. I think it has very ardent fans. And then there are people who I I spend a lot of time having this conversation who hate watch it, but if they're watching it, they're not hating it. Do you know what I mean? I think
Oh yeah,
I don't believe that hate watching is a thing. I think if you're enjoying it, I understand a guilty pleasure, but why do you feel guilty about watching something that you enjoy? I don't know. The whole conversation
exactly.
is strange. I will say I've done a lot of movies and I've done a lot of pilots over the years, And I've made a lot of films that became cult classics that were very cool, that were very niche, that were influential, but none that were big hits. And the show's a big hit. And I think people come after the tall poppy. They like to criticize the thing that is popular. And I'm okay being that at the moment. I think at this stage in my life, I'm okay with doing a popular show.
Hey, I mean, that's all that matters at the end of the day is that people are thoroughly entertained. So, but it's funny when I went through your entire filmography and everything, and just checking out all the projects you've worked out in the past, I was surprised to see that I've watched like 90% of things that you've ever acted or directed or written or anything that you were attached to. I was actually surprised. I was like, okay, no wonder that name was so familiar to me.
Yeah.
I've watched almost everything he's been involved in. So,
Um,
let's
I've done a lot
see.
of stuff.
Yes, yes, you have. Emily in Paris is so visually compelling. What's the process like for picking locations and set pieces?
Well, it begins in the writing, the idea of embedding in the script either a montage or a musical number or just a hypervisual sequence. Um, at the beginning of the season, I'll go in and do a slideshow. All the writers, Darren, they have ideas about places they'd like to shoot, but I put pictures together and come in and talk about things that we haven't done because we've done so many things in Paris. We have to
Yeah.
keep looking for new experiences there. Um, and they pick some of those, they pick some things of their own. And I try to get involved before the script is even written. Like uh, there's um, there's a big party scene, a very, very big, big, big party scene towards the end of this, well, in episode 3. And it takes place at the Baccarat Museum. And so that location really informed um, the story. It's honestly one of the most beautiful places I've ever shot. It's one of the most beautiful places to go in Paris, and it's kind of a secret. And they really embraced us there. They let us just take over. And we put on this, rather elaborate sequence. But locations always really inform, uh, you know, the direction for me. They're the moment it becomes tangible. And there was, this giant ballroom there. So I decided to really lean into it and create this very old-fashioned, elegant ball. And I love the idea of it being kind of a theme. So everybody's in either black or white or red, that there's a coherence to what everybody's wearing. Usually the show is this riot of colors, like all different kinds of colors. And I thought it would be really interesting to narrow it down so that the palette wasn't just exploding everywhere, that it seemed more of a piece.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it was an incredible scene. The
yeah.
other one, the masquerade ball.
Yes.
That
And
was
I love
such
the
a
idea of
good
a
one.
masquerade ball, everybody having a different kind of mask. And then there are harlequins as servers. And I just kind of went overboard on it. I became obsessed with that sequence. And then this idea that there's this kind of magical realism of when they're dancing and
Oh
suddenly
yeah,
they're imagining themselves alone in the space. It
yeah,
was fun. It's fun to be able to go over the top, especially in a half-hour show. There's a lot of very fancy TV on the air, huge spectacular shows, but not usually half hours, not usually comedies. So it's
yeah.
nice to really like be able to push the limits of what a half hour looks like.
Yeah, that was it's so funny that you were so like involved in the design and how intricate processes and details of that scene. And I'm just keep thinking about Alfie's attitude during the whole part and
Yeah,
his feeling about masquerade balls and whatnot. It's just a hilarious contrast.
I love his last
Uh,
line in that sequence. It's perfect.
So do y'all have like fashion designers on set? Because the wardrobe is insane. Are y'all like have pieces curated or are they like specially made? Because I mean like her outfit in the masquerade ball scene, that was just it looks
Yeah.
so simple but so perfectly cut.
Well, Marilyn Fitoussi, the costume designer, is just brilliant, and she doesn't make every outfit, but that outfit was made for Emily uniquely. So it's not something you can go and buy that outfit. But Marilyn is really just amazing, and she's honestly the most creative costume designer I've ever worked with. She makes up her own rules. She's always trying to be original. And the show is kind of a fashion uh moment, and all the big designers are trying to give her the clothes that they have in their stores to put in the show, and she really goes out of her way to find up and coming designers, to use vintage pieces, to create pieces from scratch, so that the show isn't reflecting this season or last season. It's creating something new and hopefully
Yeah,
influencing other people. It's looking forward. It's not using trends and what was of the moment, last season. It's all new.
yeah, I will say you can definitely see like there's no repeats or kind of, similarities between outfits, and especially I don't know what it is about this upcoming season, but some of the outfits like that pink dress that Mindy had in that first episode was, oh my God.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
Camille wore this black number in the third episode, I think, of coming up. Oh my God, it
Almost
was
like a
just
French made outfit.
kind of, yeah.
Yes.
And so it was, oh my God, it's just the wardrobe is incredible. Um,
No, and being able to shoot in Giverny in episode 2. I mean,
yeah.
that's a sacred place. It was. We went there and scouted it in the winter, and I thought, this is not really so great yet. But we kept going back, and there'd be more flowers and more flowers. But then when we were there, I remember pointing our camera across the pond to that Half Moon Bridge, and looking in the monitors. It looks like a Monet, because this is where
Monet's Garden.
this is where he painted. Um, so that was a very special thing to shoot there.
It was beautiful. Is the cleaning of the lily pads, is that a real thing?
It is. I didn't do that research. The writer did, but yes, they do that. Um,
Oh,
we uh, we had to bring in we had to enhance the lily pad situation because it was early in the season. So um, some of those are trade secret. Some of those flowers and some of the lily pads were fake, and we brought them in. But
it's all part of the magic.
yes.
A lot of times shows can change course during production. Has Emily in Paris stayed on the planned path, or have there been adjustments to the story?
You mean from the beginning of the season, the first season?
Yeah.
Well, I think the show was very bright and young and optimistic season 1, and I think there's a marked turn this season. I think it's there are some real world storylines, specifically with Sylvie, and Emily's growing up. She's not a bright-eyed, you know, puppy fish out of water. She lives in Paris, and she knows the city, and she speaks a little French, and she's growing up, and the show is too. The show is kind of growing up with her.
That's actually funny because I was literally about to ask. Emily in Paris has always kept the issues and drama on the lighter side. However, the new arc for Sylvie seems to be taking things in a more serious direction. What was the idea and thought process of introducing such an important societal issue? Was it just to kind of age up the show a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's just the maturity of the show. I mean, I think Emily and Gabrielle's um relationship is matured too. She's expressing herself. They have this fight in front of the cafe. I think it's in episode 2 that would have never happened in season 1. There's this point he says, I'm so sick of the lies, and she says, so am I. And
Yeah.
when she did that on the set on the day, and she yelled it, I think it was the second take, it everybody on the set just stopped and was taken aback, because we've never heard Emily be like that before. She's finding her voice and drawing a line about what other people can do to her. But yeah, it's just growing up, really.
Yeah. Yeah, Emily has very few moments where she allows herself to just burst like that. And I think the only other time I can remember her doing that was, I want to say, in season two, when she was assigned, actually, it might have been season one, where she was assigned to take care of a starlet, a Hollywood starlet, who kept calling her Bucket Hat. And she just screamed at the
Right.
episode, "Stop calling
Yeah.
me Bucket Hat."
I think
So that
yeah.
was,
I think her name was Brooklyn. Yeah. That was a funny
yeah.
episode. But that the one this season when she's talking to Gabrielle, because usually when Emily yells, there's this kind of impotence to it. At the beginning, it was like, I'm yelling and nobody's hearing me. This was like she reached into her gut and
Yeah.
screamed at him, and
She's,
he heard her. She
she
connected to
shouted with her
her
soul.
true rage. Um, but yeah, it's interesting.
Uh, Apart from Emily in Paris, you've had a hand in many other female-led projects like Insatiable, Nancy Drew, The Craft, and Younger. I was just wondering, what is it about these types of stories that really draw your interest and say that's the story for you?
Yeah. I it's I don't know. It's like a complicated thing for me. I've done a lot of teenage girl movies, and I think I'm perennially obsessed with high school and being young because when I was young, I went to an all-boys school and it was very academic and I didn't really have that experience. Um, and I worked very hard in college too. So I think I'm perennially trying to create a youth I didn't have because I was a very serious young person. And I think teenage girls are just so much more interesting than teenage boys. I mean, I feel like that translates into the 20s too. Young women are so articulate and demonstrative and emotional, and young men are very clammed up and hey, what's going on? What's up? They're not they're not as
Yeah,
verbal. They're not
sometimes
as
the stereotypes
emotional.
are true.
Yeah. I mean, men are just more taciturn. So I think they're just more interesting, more fun. And yeah, I think that's what it is.
No, I get that. I get that a lot. Yeah. Um, you and Darren Star seem to have a close working relationship. What is it like working and collaborating together?
We've been working together for a long time. Um, I think he has this sensibility, and I share it, which is that we like things that are funny, but not silly. And we like things that have an emotional pull, but are not dramatic. I think we like to live in that space between comedy and drama where things are funny, but then they're also emotional. And we like to kind of go back and forth between those things. I mean, that idea of a show that's a comedy but also has an emotional through line, that's Darren. That's Darren Star. That's what he does. Um, so over the years, we've just gotten to know each other really well. And if he's not on set, I can, or not on a scout, I can look at something and say, Darren's not going to like that. Like, I just know, like we have this kind of like Vulcan brain connection.
Oh.
We tend to 98% of the time like the same things. So I think that's really and he's a nice guy. We enjoy each other's company. So I think that's kind of the key. There's a lot of
Oof,
mutual respect, I would say also.
yeah, that is a blessing. That is hard to come by. Um, just a couple more here. What has been the best part of working on Emily in Paris? If there was like just one particular facet about, the production that you really like look forward to the most.
Well, there isn't just one thing. I mean, it's Paris.
Yeah.
It's I would say personally, it's been amazing to get to spend so much time there and to see every part of the city and to meet so many people. I feel very much at home now because it's been 4 seasons over 5 years, and I know that city really well. And that's one aspect. And I would also say the French crew are just magnificent. They're on the surface, it looks like the same process, but French film and television have a long history. They have their own history of filmmaking that parallels ours, and they have their own methodologies. But it kind of boils down into this thing where everybody on set cares about it in a creative way. Everybody thinks of themselves as an artist, and they want it to be good, and they take it seriously, but they don't take themselves too seriously. They're just lovely and creative and collaborative and kind. The crew are just amazing, and they make it they make it all possible. They really do.
That is amazing. So I just have one more last question for you. It's probably the most important of all. What's the weather like in Paris?
The weather in Paris, it's probably the worst thing about Paris, is wildly unpredictable. Well, as you saw the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, it was raining. It rains whenever it wants to, uh, and you just have to be prepared. Usually in New York or LA, a rainstorm comes in and you can kind of schedule around it. In
Yeah.
Paris, you really don't know. The forecast is always wrong, but it will rain and then it will stop. So we just work around it. But it's the worst thing about Paris is the weather, or how often it rains. This season was very different because we did it over the winter. All the three previous seasons were summer, and this one we were there from January into March, April, May. It was cold, and it was a different look. It was, short days and Paris at night with people in coats. It was a different vibe. I'm glad we did it. I don't think we want to do it again.
It
No,
was a
no, no.
learning experience.
It was cold. It's really cold there.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me today, Andrew.
Of
I had
course.
so much fun learning about this show that I love so much. And I genuinely cannot wait to see the rest of what's in store for season four. I hope this show stays around forever. I
Well,
swear.
from your mouth to God's ears, or Netflix's, that is. Thank you. I appreciate it. I had fun.